A lot of times our heroes are thinking with their brain, but in other times when it comes to ladies, they are definitely thinking with their whip. We know clearly in this movie he shot first. All right, so there you go.
Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. Have the adventure of your life.
We can agree that Indiana Jones, world's greatest adventurer. Check. Like, has a cool factor. Times 11. Check. Good at spotting Nazis. Not so much. I mean, my goodness. Dr. Elsa Snyder, blonde hair, blue eyes, angular jawline, thick German accent. Yeah. Like, she's the female Ivan Drago. What are you doing?
Right.
Like, Harrison,
was it not a tipping point or line to you when she didn't wave to you, but she saluted like a Nazi? Like, Indiana, come on.
Leave me alone. I don't like fast women.
You sit on a throne of lies.
Were you a Han Solo guy or were you an Indiana Jones guy? Mm-hmm. Today, we're talking about Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, and I was a Indiana Jones guy through and through. That's who I was dressing up as for sure. Not to discredit Han Solo, is iconic as well. Isn't that? We could spend a whole episode, and maybe we will, talking about how this man played two of the coolest characters in the galaxy.
All of it. It's all true.
When I was rewatching this yesterday with my wife, this is the first movie out of 73 episodes where I think she knows this movie more than I do.
Oh, she was a big Indy fan, huh?
Oh my goodness. She's just a huge Harrison fan. So every piece,
he's such an ugly man. I don't know why anyone
super hideous.
Now he's definitely gruffing like, oh, these guys.
But it's like, yeah, it's no wonder. For people who watch the YouTube, it's like, I have a 7-foot Han Solo and Carbonite because my wife, so when I'm not here, it's like, there's probably lipstick on that thing. I wouldn't be surprised. It's just like...
You come back and you're like, she's moved this. I know it's been moved.
I love you.
I know.
You now have Han Solo and James Bond together for real in this, right? Yeah. And it's like pretty insane. And I mean,
I don't know how their coolness didn't tear a hole in the space-time continuum.
It did. It did. And that's why we got Kingdom of Crystal Salt. No. And I've said this before, like, we sometimes have to get one thing to get something else. And apparently I'm in good company if Spielberg's thinking the same thing, because he got Temple of Doom to it, and then he's like, I had to give you Crusade. Yeah. We got Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, and now we have Dial of Destiny, which hopefully that's the love letter back to and the final send-off, the last Crusade for this franchise. I'm glad that wasn't the Last Crusade. I enjoyed about 90% of Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. I'm excited to see
this number keeps increasing. By the end of this, you're gonna be like, I know Crystal Skull's the best one, because you said you didn't like about 20% of it, and now you just said you like 90% of it.
Yeah, it's really growing on. I'm watching it right now as I'm recording this episode. I've got it on. It's really growing on me.
No, what are you waiting for? Do it!
How in the world did they get James Bond? How did they get Sean Connery for this movie?
Yeah.
Spielberg loves James Bond, and to him, in interviews, the sole best ever James Bond is Sean Connery. And he thought to himself, if we're going to bring in the father of Indiana Jones, the only person that could match that level is James Bond. That's the only person that can do it.
Thank you. It was rather wonderful.
The crazy thing is do you know what the age difference between Harrison and Sean Connery was in this movie?
It's not a lot, right?
12 years.
Yeah.
12 years. And when my wife found that out, she goes, oh, he must have been a very promiscuous 12-year-old. Like, I'll take a martini, shaken, not stirred. It's kind of whispery and whistly.
And it helps to also, that's another thing with impressions, like, to look like the person, right? Like, we could go and do and say these things, and then the girl will just walk away. Like, oh, this guy's just give him his martini, but I'm not spending time with him. Sean Connery looked cool. He just looked so cool. But so I always liked, he was there. Wait, no, I don't know who that was. Hold on. He was there. You saw him? It's a Sean Connery. You got to really This is the book. This is the Maca. Oh wait, Maca? Who is? I'm from Brooklyn now. This is the problem. I need like 6 hours to do one line of an impression. But I love doing Sean Connery because it's just all S's and all a bunch of drool and spit.
That's for blasphemy.
Probably one of the emotional hitters for this movie, and why I did watch it a lot, is like my grandfather was such a big part of my life, and this movie was so comforting that after he did pass, I did watch this a lot, and I would always just have Indiana Jones on a lot because it reminded me of him, and it just felt like a good, solid, happy place. This one especially, because of how Sean Connery was, and how Harrison Ford was, and how they were together. And there is something though that is in us about maybe seeking approval and wanting that relationship with your mentor or a father figure or a grandpa or an uncle or whatever. And it had that. Like, we wanted to be Indiana Jones, but we also wanted to have our relationship with our dad or an adult figure like that. So the movie gave us both for the first time ever.
I thought I'd lost you, boy.
I do firmly believe that this is the best kind of final trial of a hero in cinema. Like, I think instead of, even from the progression of Temple, or from Raiders and Temple to this point, I mean, it goes from kind of like the ingenuity and luck of changing the weight of a sandbag, to it's not ingenuity and luck anymore. It's literally based on your humanity. Like the person you are, the heart that you have, and the love that you have for another human being.
Penitent man is humble, kneels before God.
I love in this movie, it is beautiful writing. It is flawless writing. That when Indy falls into the crevice and his dad grabs him, and he, for a second, has the little bit of greed of like, Dad, I can reach it. And for the first time in this movie, he says, Indiana. He's willing to overlook his life's work, what his identity was. And he found out that his life's work is his son.
Let it go.
It took 73 episodes for me to like truly cry in this show. But I mean, he finally knew who his son was and saw who his son was and what his son needed. And he overlooked the Holy Grail. So cool. So beautiful. So good. Yeah, I love it.
What did you find, Dad? Illumination.
Yes, I will see Dial of Destiny, but I am wondering if Last Crusade is the Terminator 2 of this franchise, is where it should have always ended. Indy has every artifact imaginable. He discovered the Cup of Christ. He discovered, all of these intricate things, the Ark of the Covenant, for goodness sakes. But he found the one true artifact that means the most to him, his father's love. Like, you can't beat that. Like, you can't beat that. I'm going into this out of the excitement of that piece of emotion that they'll hopefully give us after 42 years that really closes out Indy in the best possible way. If 99% of this movie isn't great, but you give me that 1% where that fedora gets put away in the most respectful, best possible way, I'll adore this movie for all time. Just for that.
He is definitely someone where I would have an outer body experience because I'd so want to hug this man if I saw him. But I also would have to do the play it cool because it's Harrison doorbell ringer Ford. You know what I mean? Yeah. So you'd have to give the cool, like, the Tom Cruise, I'm doing it on This Is Audio, but I've forgotten how the podcasts work. Only 87 episodes in. I just keep doing hand motions and gestures. But when you put your two fingers up,
they might hear it.
They're gonna hear it. It's like the sound of a whip. But two fingers on your eyebrow, just that. Hey, I'd have to. But then I think once I've done it, and then I'd hug him. I'd still have to hug him, get off this body, he'd say. Here is my mom. Mom.
Mom, the meatloaf.
Mom. That's exactly what that Hey, Mom. Mom. It's turning into Mom the meatloaf.
Hey, Mom! The meatloaf!
What is she doing? I never know what she's doing.
So I think you'll appreciate too when you listen back on this episode that that David made reference to watching this movie as a kid, that I had talked about it from watching it as a father-son duo, and he had said that you're not only his mom, but you were his father figure. You were his Sean Connery, and if it wasn't for the fact that you let him explore this world and kind of escape reality, he wouldn't have had as good of a childhood as he would have had.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. You guys, this is such a wonderful podcast. It's really neat that I can listen to them, because you never know if your kids had a good childhood.
Mm-hmm.
I was his dad at Boy Scouts too. That didn't work. I couldn't build that damn little car for anything. So after that, we did it.
That darn Pinewood Derby.
Oh my God. Well, put a weight here and all that. So that was one father experience I couldn't do.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like he has very fond memories too of his grandpa.
Yeah.
And yeah, him and I have talked about that a lot, because I'm the same way with my grandpa. It's just like he I don't know, he kind of had that coolness of a Sean Connery of, somebody you really looked up to and idolized and stuff. But yeah, that's like, it is, I agree with you. There is something, I've said it in previous episodes, there's something cool about knowing that other people in your family or in your life share in a memory together, and it cues the same emotions. That just makes it so much, it's more than a movie, like more than this fake world, because it's so real because you shared it. Like,
yeah. It's really nice to have grandparents that do that. My dad loved him. My dad taught him to shave too. That was a failure on me. I'm like, I don't know how to do that. And by the way, it was really early, like in 6th grade, when the girl told him, you got to get rid of that. I think he mentioned that in a podcast before.
Yes.
And I was like, you got to go see Pop. I can't do that.